Trump having a 35-point lead in this state is not necessarily anything specific to Donald Trump himself. It's about New York Republicans. There's the simple explanatory fact about tomorrow night's race that it is a closed primary. No independents can vote in the primary on the Democratic side or the Republican side. So in this Republican race, there's not going to be any crossover Democratic voters. There's not going to be any independents. It's only registered Republicans in New York State who are going to be voting. And in New York State, I have to tell you, I don't mean this in a bad way, but you have to understand elsewhere in the country, New York State registered Republicans are kind of a weird bunch. Sorry. Here's what I mean. There are 20 million people in the state of New York. There are only 2.7 million registered Republicans, okay? It takes a special kind of New Yorker to be a registered Republican. The New York Republican Party also isn't what it used to be. It's no longer a Nelson Rockefeller kind of Republican Party. It's no longer even a George Pataki kind of Republican Party. George Pataki made his endorsement this past week in the Republican presidential race this year. Did you hear what it was? No, you did not, because nobody in New York Republican politics cares what George Pataki has to say about the current presidential race, even though he's the last Republican governor of this state. He himself competed in this presidential race this past year, and nobody noticed. The Republican Party has moved on from, forgive me, normal Republicans. In the state of New York, it is not a normal Republican Party anymore. And now, in the state of New York, when Republicans alone are asked in a closed primary about what kind of person they would like to represent them in high elective office, you have to understand that in New York right now, this is more the kind of guy they pick.
If we've learned anything tonight, it's that New Yorkers are as mad as hell. And we're not going to take it anymore. Hi, I'm Carl Palladino, and I'm mad as hell.
Well, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
They say I'm an angry man, and that's true. We're all angry. Not just because we woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
That's who the New York Republican Party nominated to be their candidate for governor in 2010. When New York got Andrew Cuomo as the state's Democratic governor, that happened in part because of Andrew Cuomo, but it also happened because this is who the Republicans picked to run against him.
What do we do with all the people on welfare? Put them in prison. Well, that's what New York gubernatorial candidate Carl Palladino wants to do. Good morning to you, Carl.
Good morning, kids.
Okay, so unused prisons, turn them into dorms for poor people to do what?
On the New York City subway, most don't even recognize Palladino, although that's changing with daily headlines like the one today revealing some of Palladino's aides have criminal records. He readily admits he too has made mistakes in life. Last year, he revealed to his wife of 40 years what his children already knew, that he fathered a child with another woman. He sent around racist, sexist, and pornographic emails.
I didn't mean to offend anybody. I sent it to a select group of friends. Those friends, okay, treated them privately, except for obviously one.
But Republicans are lining up behind him.
This week you called Senator Kirsten Gillibrand Chuck Schumer's little girl. Do you think that's a sexist comment to make? Do you have any regrets about that?
No, I don't.
So you don't think it's sexist?
Absolutely not.
Well, a number of Republicans are telling us that due to your behavior and remarks...
Are we going to talk issues, or am I leaving you right now?
Well, I think this is about issues, sir. I think some say that some of the comments you made say that you're not capable of running the state.
Okay?
Well, we'd like you to stay here with us and talk about the issues facing for voters in the North Country. Carl Palladino, we'd like you to stay and talk to us and talk about the issues. All right, well, Mr. Palladino has decided that he does not want to stay and conduct the interview.
No, Mr. Palladino did not want to stay and conduct the interview. Carl Palladino was such an incredible candidate that at one point, I honestly thought that he was going to be unveiled as an art project. That some hipster performance artist was going to rip off the Carl Palladino mask and reveal this was all some artistic experiment to see what people could really handle in major party politics. But apparently, Carl Palladino is a real person, or the art project is much longer than anyone expected. The details of his candidacy though, it was sometimes hard to remember that it was for real. I mean, Carl Palladino was a candidate who sent out a scratch and sniff mailer, where if you scratched the mailer and sniffed it, if you smelled what Carl Palladino wanted you to smell on it, it was scented to smell like rotting garbage. Does that make you want to vote for him? Carl Palladino really did run on a campaign of sending poor people to prison, so he said the state could give them instructions on things like personal hygiene and physical fitness, which obviously poor people don't know anything about. Who could object to that? The most amazing thing, though, about the Carl Palladino campaign was what you saw alluded to there in that NBC News report. It was what voters came to learn about a pretty big part of his public persona at home in Buffalo, where he was a successful lawyer and a real estate mogul, and also a prolific mass emailer. For example, he sent out this picture under the subject line, White House Ball. He sent out this video in an email that he gave the subject line, quote, Obama inauguration rehearsal. He forwarded another email which included a video of monkeys doing a little dance that kind of looked like an Irish step dance. It was titled, Proof the Irish Discovered Africa. The idea with that one was that the dance part of it seemed Irish, and the Africa part is that it's... Carl Palladino sent this stuff to hundreds of people. To people in politics, to people in business, to people all over his sphere of Carl Palladino influence. A huge trove of this stuff was published by Western New York media, and I will not show you the rest of what Western New York media published from their list of emails people had received from Carl Palladino, but a lot of it was really, really hardcore pornography. Not just like pictures of ladies with their tops off, like hardcore pornographic movies. Carl Palladino would send around to his email list videos of hardcore porn with little commentaries from Carl Palladino about whether this one was a keeper or what else he liked about this particular clip of, yeah. I mean, there was one video he sent around that showed a person having sex with a horse. He gave the subject line, quote, easy, steady, big fella, XXXX. Here's the thing about Carl Palladino and New York Republicans. All of that stuff about Carl Palladino came out during the campaign. And knowing that about Carl Palladino, New York Republican voters picked him. They had other normal Republican candidates to choose, but New York Republican voters in a closed primary decided that was the guy they wanted. These were his campaign lawn signs for that campaign. I'm mad too, Carl. Just in case you needed a reminder that the word mad has two meanings. New York Republicans are poised to elect Donald Trump tomorrow night by what could be a 10, 20, 30-point margin. And that will have consequences for the overall contest to choose a replacement for President Barack Obama. That fact about what's going to happen tomorrow in New York, that is inescapable. But just keep in mind, it is also inescapable that New York Republicans right now are kind of nuts. Carl Palladino was chosen as the gubernatorial nominee of the Republican Party in the state of New York 6 years ago. He was not elected governor, obviously. He did end up getting elected to the Buffalo School Board, though, where he still serves today, I think, alongside his duties as the New York co-chair for the presidential campaign of his friend Donald Trump. Mr. Trump tonight held his final campaign rally before tomorrow's primary in Carl Palladino's hometown of Buffalo, New York. Mr. Palladino bragged to the media about how he arranged this event. Mr. Trump turned out an estimated 18,000 people in Buffalo tonight, and I am sure that Carl Palladino's Buffalo will go huge for Donald Trump in tomorrow's primary. New York State is big, and it is not nuts overall. New York State Republican Party politics, though, have gone nuts. The only problem now is that now that's everybody's problem. We'll be right back.